Hi, thank you for tuning in. My name is Colleen. I go by Coco. You can find me on Instagram at Coco Did My Hair. So excited to be doing this haircut today for you guys. I am an educator from Sport Clips Haircuts, and I'm coming to you today from Salt Lake City, Utah. What about you? Where are you coming from? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to read them and see who's all tuning in. I'm going to be demonstrating a textured Eurohawk today. I love Eurohawks. I love putting texture in my client's hair. And something that is going to be really cool about this that you're going to want to wait and watch the whole thing for is I'm going to be utilizing clippers for the whole haircut. On the side here, I've already pre-cut. And so I'm even going to be using my foil shaver to add a little bit of a taper here at the sideburn. I'm super excited for this haircut. Thank you again for allowing me to be here. Thank you for Sport Clips for allowing me this opportunity. And let's get started. The first thing I'm going to utilize is my number 3. What I'm going to do is start with my longest guard, and then I'm going to fade down. The reason being is if I know where my longest point is here, I have a stopping point. I know that, okay, here's my longest point. I'm going to blend down to it and I know where I'm going. Another reason being is if there's no line put in the haircut, then there's no reason to blend it out. So it's very easy for a new stylist to learn this way because blending down is super efficient for them. One of my favorite things to teach is the dynamics of a clipper. I want you guys to imagine this is a foot. This is a leg, this is a foot. The toe is going to cut hair. The heel is going to blend hair. Now what I'm meaning by this is if I stay in this position all the way through my haircut, I'm not pivoting and removing that moving blade to create distance. This moving blade in front is going to cut the hair. So as I start down here at the toe, if I move here to the heel, I'm therefore pivoting that moving blade away. So therefore I'm creating length. This is where you get that C shape, the rocking, the flick of the wrist. That's the idea behind it. You never want to leave that moving blade touching the client's scalp. All right, let's put on our number 3. And let's get started. I'm gonna go in with my toe, as you can see here, and then I come out with that heel. So toe, heel. As I'm coming in with my clipper, I'm using my comb behind it to act as a helper. I'm utilizing my comb, helping that hair to be pushed into that guard. So as you can see here, this is allowing me to have an even distribution of the hair. I can easily see my line, okay? Now this is the important part. When you are utilizing your clippers for a Eurohawk, you never want to stay in this position because this is going to cut the majority of that hair as a number 3. What I like to do is turn the clipper. So I'm here in this position for the sides, and then I'm going to be in this position for the back. That's because when I go in, I can still use that toe heel, and I can still pivot and rock out. So I'm not creating any harsh lines, and I'm adding lengths, getting longer, I'm blending, and it's going to be easier for me to finish this at the end. So I'm going to go in with my toe. And then I'm going to come up. See how I'm rocking out like that? Going in with my toe. Then I'm going to come out. Now, I've already pre-sectioned this haircut because I've already cut the other side, right? And let's talk about this for a second. When I'm pre-sectioning my top working area, I'm able to stay organized in my haircuts. What I want to do as a professional is create shape inside my client's haircut. So as you can see here, I'm utilizing the round of the head to find that perfect width and that perfect area to really get that height for my client. I'm gonna be recommending this haircut to people who have round or square face shapes to elongate the face, right? So if I go in and utilize this area, this is gonna create that height. If I am down here with my sectioning, I'm gonna utilize more hair down here than I need to, therefore creating it wider. So starting off with a good game plan is something that Sport Clips is really good at teaching us. I love teaching how to go from A to B when my stylists come through our paid training, because we can have the end result, but as stylists, especially beginner stylists, it's like, okay, but how do I do it? Like, how do I get from point A to point B? And so learning how to develop a game plan not only helps your proficiency, your precision, it also helps you have confidence because you know what you're exactly going to be doing. So now that I already have my 3 set up, I'm going to utilize my 1. The reason why I'm utilizing my 1 is because I want to create my first guideline to where I'm going to start to have it shorter. Utilizing the same technique, I'm going to do my toe, and then I'm going to come up to my heel. Now around the ears, this can be tricky. Simply utilize your clipper like this. Instead of it being like this flat, I want you to angle it. So you're only utilizing 4 or 5 of the teeth because this is going to create an even length. But if I pivot this out, see how that creates distance? Distance equals length. So then I'm going to be able to blend that. So that's a tip you can utilize when you're cutting around the ear. So I'm going to go through the sides here. See how again on the side, how I'm utilizing this in this direction? I'm utilizing the clipper in this direction. If I'm going this way, I'm going to cut too much in. I'm going to take it too short. So utilizing my clipper in this way is going to help me. And as you can see here, I still have my toe and heel technique. Remember, toe cuts the hair. Heel blends the hair. So I'm going with my toe, coming up with my heel, and suspending off the head. Super fun trick. Try it and let me know. All right, so now I can clearly see here that I have a 1, 2, a 3. Now, all I need to do is blend the 1 to a 3. It's very important when you're looking at your client's head to understand the blending zone. I have a pretty large blending zone here, meaning when I start to come up and blend, I have this whole section to blend. Now, say I only had a little bit of a section to blend, it'll be really hard for me to get a 0 to a 3. It'd be more of a compressed fade, right? And so blending zones are super important to know about because then you can give your professional recommendation when it comes to fades. So now that I already have my 1 and my 3, I'm going to grab my 1.5. My 1.5 is going to be just right here where I stopped with that 1. An important tip I want you to remember is that when you're blending a line or blending an area, you want to make sure your strokes are small and light. When I go through with my 3, I'm taking big strokes, right? Because I have a large amount of hair to remove. When I'm going in with my 1.5 to blend, I want to stay short. I want to stay in those short strokes. Because what happens if I take my 1.5 too high? The 3 is going to be gone, right? So I want you to utilize small strokes when blending. So I'm going to go through here with my number 1.5. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open my clipper. When I open my clipper, it's going to add a little bit more of a length so I can really blend in the 1.5 to the 3. All right, he is looking good. The next thing I'm gonna do is do a taper on the ear. Now, a taper is a really great way to still have long hair throughout the haircut, but around the ears, it's a really great way to recommend shorter hair for around the ears. Because a lot of the times clients, they want short hair because it bugs around the ears, but maybe they want to have that style on top. So adding a nice little taper around the ears or even the neck is something that you as a professional can recommend. I'm gonna start with my clipper closed, and I'm gonna utilize his sideburn area, and I want this taper to be right here on his ear, okay? So I'm gonna go in with my 0. I'm utilizing my toe heel technique. When I get up to the line right here, where the 0 goes into the 1, my clipper is not like this on the head. Remember, this is the toe. I'm on the heel. So I'm coming through and blending like this. This is gonna be a 0. This is gonna be a 1 or a 2. So that's how I'm easily gonna be able to blend my haircut. So now that I have my 0 put in, I'm gonna utilize my trimmer. The reason why I'm utilizing my trimmer is because it's gonna get a little bit shorter, and I'm also gonna be able to use my full shaver. So my 0 is right here, right? I just wanna stay right below that with the same technique. I don't wanna go in fully with the toe of the blade. I wanna be able to go toe heel, toe heel. Even utilizing the corner. The corner of the last 4 or 5 teeth is gonna be helpful. So now I have my trimmer line and my 0 line. So then I can get to blending. I'm gonna utilize my half guard and blend my 0 up to the 1 first. And I'm keeping everything else at a 1 down here. We're just tapering the sideburn area. I'm gonna open my clipper. See, I'm just utilizing the 4 or 5 teeth here. Then I'm gonna close it. Close it a little bit more. Alrighty, see how that's starting to blend there? I'm gonna grab my trimmers again. I'm gonna add a little bit of a cleanup. When you're trying to trim up around the ear, something that's really cool to learn is to cut with cut in a clock position, 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So I'm coming down here to 6, up to 12, and then I'm coming up here to 6, up to 12. This is a good way to not white wall your client's haircut. When I say white wall, I mean remove a lot of hair on the ears. Sometimes your clients might want that, but maybe at that point you can recommend a nice taper. And then you can utilize this technique. So I'm gonna go through and line up his neckline. Okay. And then just make sure he's nice and clean here. Alrighty, it's looking good. So now that I have my taper down here to the trimmer, I'm gonna use my foil shaver. My foil shaver is gonna get it down to skin, and it's going to make it look a little bit more contrast with that fade, right? I'm gonna utilize my foil shaver as like a paintbrush, utilizing it in this motion. But with this small area, I'm just gonna put my blades right here on top and go in the same direction. When I start to move and go in different directions, that's when you start to irritate the client's scalp. And that's where clients will get a lot of irritation bumps and ingrown hairs. So utilizing your foil shaver correctly not only makes you the professional, but also helps your client really love this tool. I'm gonna go in here Again, I can just use the corner too if I want. See how that's taking that shorter there? All right. So now we have both sides faded and we have them tapered, okay? Now we have to blend and cut the top of the back. So I'm gonna take these grippers off. And now we're gonna get to the cool part where I'm gonna cut the top with clippers. Have you ever seen this before? Let me know in the comments if you've ever seen this technique before. I love, as a professional, really utilizing different tips and tricks that I've learned, because to the client, that makes you become more like, original, more unique, more desired. And really it's all about getting that client to come back to you, right? Because that's what's gonna make money. Before I start cutting, I am gonna utilize a cutting aid. At Sport Clips, we have what's called an all-star hair cutting system. It's really beneficial because it helps us have 4 key elements to do inside every haircut, and I feel more confident behind the chair. And that's what it's all about. Sport Clips is really good at giving us confidence, giving us training, giving us a more understanding of how to be the professional behind the chair. So utilizing a cutting aid is just gonna add a little bit of grit. I'm gonna be able to utilize my clippers. And I can use my scissors too if I wanted to, but for this haircut, we're just using clippers. Alrighty. Now, let's talk cutting angles. Cutting angles are the angle of your finger. So if I'm doing a blended mohawk, AKA the Eurohawk, this is gonna be the highest point in the center. And that's where I get the length to really elongate that face shape, right? So if this is the longest piece here in the center, I'm gonna utilize my shortest piece here as my guide, and then I'm gonna utilize a cutting angle. A cutting angle is the shape of my fingers, right? I want them to be shaped like a triangle, a little teepee house. I wanna watch my cutting angle and make sure that I'm utilizing the proper cutting angle. So what I'm gonna do is split this down the middle. Okay, I'm gonna focus on one side at a time. I'm going to utilize my number 3 here at the bottom. And I'm going to pay attention to my cutting angle. I want you to look at the angle of my finger. Okay, if I'm shaped like this, I'm gonna remove too much hair. If I'm pulled up like this, I'm creating a square shape. But if I keep my finger down here on the 3 and elevate my hand, I'm creating more of that pointed shape that we want. I'm adding length here in the center. So here's the cool part. Are you watching? I'm gonna come in here with my section. I'm gonna utilize my finger down here at my 3. I'm gonna come up with my clipper and I'm gonna come towards me. The reason why I come towards me is because if I'm pushing with my clipper up, I'm gonna push the hair. When I come up with the clipper and then turn it towards me, I get a nice finish. Okay, and as you can see here, I have the longest piece here in the center, and then I go down to the shortest piece. So then I'm gonna go through here with my next section, utilizing my number 3 down here as my guide, and then I'll come up and towards me. When I get here to the top, I'm watching my cutting angle, making sure that my cutting angle is the angle that I want. There's nothing worse than in the middle of a haircut realizing, oh, that's not what I wanted to do, right? Okay, can you guys see that? Okay. I'm gonna go through here with my next section, utilizing that number 3 at the bottom. And I'm coming up, watching my cutting angle, maintaining that angle to where this is gonna be longer here in the center. Can you guys see that? I'm creating length here in the center. So I'm gonna go through here and finish the rest. Something that I really love about sport clips is we really go above and beyond to educate our stylists. How cool is it that when you graduate beauty school, you're able to come to a place to work and get more education? It's so amazing. I love teaching stylists straight out of beauty school, or even stylists that come in that's been doing hair for a long amount of time, because I'm like, let me teach you something. We're not really focused on the actual, let me teach you how to cut hair. We want to enhance what you already know. We want to add to your toolbox, give you tips and tricks that have helped us be successful so that you can be successful. All right, now that I'm done with this side right here, I'm gonna come through and make sure that everything is blended on my other side. So I'm gonna pull this up here, see that cutting angle? And then I have a point right here. See that cutting angle right there? I'm creating that length here in the center. All right. I'm gonna turn here to the back so you can see this area coming up towards me, up towards me. A lot of the times people are like, aren't you scared you're gonna cut the client's hair with your clippers or cut your hair? And no, because you are in control of these tools. Alrighty, let's focus on the back now. So we got the top done. The back, we're going to utilize our clipper comb. The clipper comb is a really helpful tool because it's gonna be an extension to your fingers. So again, if I have that angle in my fingers, I want the angle in my comb. So what I'm gonna do is anchor my comb here, pivot out, so I have length here in the center, and this is closest to the head. See that? My lowest number down here is a 1. So I'm able to utilize my comb right here on the scalp because this is gonna be the same length as a 1. So now that I've done that side already, let's go back to this side. Okay, my comb is anchored in, right? See how on the tail here, I'm gonna shift it out. I don't wanna leave that pressed to the head or I'm gonna cut all that off. So when my comb goes in, I wanna pivot that out, okay? So my comb's in, I'm pivoting it out, taking my clippers across like that. As I'm going up, do you see it pivoting it out? See that? Okay, and then as I'm going inside, I'm going to be looking for my short piece here, and I'm going to be following that same angle. Alrighty, so now we can see here that we've already blended that side and this side, right? We can clearly see here how we have a longer length here in the center, and these are fading into it. So now let's just make our blends a little bit more tighter. This comb is a wall blending comb. It's really nice because it has barbs in it. So what I mean by barbs is those little pieces in the comb teeth are gonna hold the client's hair in place. So I'm gonna go in, pivot out, and I'm gonna utilize my clipper going up. When I utilize my clipper going up like this, it's gonna add a very soft blend because I'm pushing up with the hair. I can go through and cut it like this if I want, very bluntly, but I'm just detailing it a little bit. I wanna make it a little more softer, so I wanna add softer blending techniques. I want to make sure that my comb is stable. I don't want to push too hard on the comb because when I push too hard, I'm going to get different lengths, right? If I get different lengths, then I'm going to have to blend even more. I'm just going to go through, make sure all this is blended really nice. Let me know in the comments something you've learned already. I'm interested. Let's see what we're learning today. When you write it down, you're able to remember it more. And then when you put it to practice, it's locked in. So after this class, make sure you go and practice these techniques. All right, so now you can see here that we have our sides blended and we have the top and the back, okay? Now the back is going to be up to us to talk to the clients and let them know what that's gonna look like. If I'm talking to the client and telling him this is gonna be a tail, it's gonna elongate that neckline, right? With my client here, he already has a pretty nice neck, so let's square it off so you can see what that looks like, okay? So what I'm gonna do is utilize my trimmers. I'm gonna ask the client to look down a little bit. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to square it off right where my neckline is. All right, so I'm lining this up. Make sure it's straight. I'm gonna utilize my mirror and my station. And I'm gonna make sure I set him up with a nice neckline. These finishing details really help your clients when you're recommending different techniques. These finishing details are really important because it's putting your own mark on this haircut, right? Okay, let's go through and make sure there's nothing else we need to detail. Alrighty, now let's get to the fun part, texture. Now, when I'm talking to my client and telling him about texture, I wanna make sure I'm using simple words that they can relate to. So I'm letting them know, when I put texture in your hair, it's gonna give it a really messy, jagged look. So you're able to style it easier. It's going to, just look a little bit lighter, feel a little lighter, just easier to style. And the best thing that I like to use is my texture blade on my Wall Big Mac. Now, are you guys ready for this? Favorite thing ever to do on my client. See, this is open. I'm gonna close it to expose more of the teeth. I'm gonna turn it on and I'm going to rake this blade through my client's hair. You guys see the hair coming off here? Now, when you're adding texture, you're really making it your own, right? But you want to make sure it's even. I don't want to texture the back really good and leave the top heavy. And I don't want to texture the top really good and leave the back heavy. So I want to make sure that I'm being consistent. You can see that texture already. Do you see that? There's not even any product in it. This texture blade is literally so amazing. Alrighty. So I'm feeling, kind of looking to see where I need to add some more texture. Right here on the top, you can see how it's still pretty heavy. See when I turn it this way, I can start to see a little bit through the ends here, but see how it's really heavy here? So I'm gonna, again, utilize this technique and really texture the front here. Wow. That is looking so good. Let me raise him up a little bit. Look at all this texture. There's not even any product in his hair yet. So when I'm utilizing this, I'm telling the client and showing him, look what I just created. This is gonna be easy to style. There's not even any product in it and it already looks styled, right? Okay, so let's recap. We started off with sectioning off the top working area. We started at the rounds, right? Because we want to create that length here to elongate the face, okay? So we sectioned this off at the rounds. Then we utilized our number 3, taking it all the way up. Remember, toe and heel. So the toe cuts, the heel blends. So I went in with my toe and I went to my heel to blend and I suspend off. Then I went through with my number 1, created my other guide, and then I tapered down. After that, I utilized my cutting angle and I kept my fingers at a point, utilizing the number 3 and then coming up. 3 as my guide and coming up, utilizing my cutting angle. When I'm holding my clippers, I want to make an L, okay? This is how you're going to hold the clippers when you're cutting with the top, cutting with them for the top. You make an L, turn your clipper down and facing you, okay? So now my pointer finger and my thumb are holding. Then I have 3 fingers here. So now when my clipper is on, I'm going to comb and then cut. Okay, comb, cut. Now, when I'm utilizing my clippers, remember I want that last section to come towards me so I don't push more hair. If you don't have a texture blade, let me show you a tip you can utilize to texture. Pretty cool, huh? Just like scissors, if I go in more vertical, I won't get as much of a texture. But if I go in at an angle, I get more of that pointed texture look. So literally doing this haircut with clippers is super fun, 1, and 2, really gonna be helpful to really build your clientele because you've added something unique that no one has done before. All right, let me get this blow dryer on. Pause for a second. Just want to make sure there's no hair coming with us when we style, okay? So when you're styling, this is like icing on the cake, right? We've already put all of this texture in. So when we add our products, you're going to enhance the texture, okay? So today I'm going to be utilizing a product that we use at Sport Clips called Outlaw. It's original, Outlaw from Gibbs. It's called Hair Spackle. And I'm going to utilize just a fingertip amount. Now, when you're talking to your clients, you want to say what you're using and why. I'm using the Outlaw Hair Spackle because I put all that texture in. It's going to pull that texture out and make it really easy to style. I'm going to rub it in my hands. Education is very important when you're in the chair. And then I want to distribute all of the product. I like to use analogies that men can relate to. So I tell them, pretend like you're putting, you know, lotion on your head and really get that product in. You can see all of that texture being brought out. All righty, this is looking good. Okay, then he can have that option to wear it up here in the back, or he can have that option to wear it down too, up to him. But as I start to piece this out, I'm talking to him about that education, talking to him about the product, making him feel like he can do this at home. You can see here how we took those shorter sides up and created that length here that's gonna elongate his face. Then he has this nice little fun style here in the back and a little taper here on the sides. So again, this is a really easy way to give a nice textured, edgy Eurohawk to your client. Remember, the consultation is really important. So talking to your client, finding out what his needs are, what his likes, what his dislikes are important, and really just put your own flair into things. Really make that client feel like he's getting that special haircut because he's getting a haircut from you. No one else can do what you do. So be confident, be the professional, and give your recommendations and utilize the tips and tricks that we learned today and let the client know that he is in good hands. Again, my name is Colleen. I'm Coco Did My Hair. I'm an educator for Sport Clips haircuts outside of Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm so excited that I was able to demonstrate a couple techniques. Let me know what techniques you utilize, and I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for tuning in.